Hey everyone, welcome to the Clydesdale CrossFit and Friends. My name is Scott Switzer. I am the Clydesdale CrossFitter. We have the full house today. Charlie Odie, what's going on, man?
Yo.
We have Amy Radowski.
Hey.
And Kat Shear with her nice new wood backdrop.
Beautiful, thank you.
After the construction from last weekend.
Yep.
This week, we are interviewing Lindsey Love Jenks, the founder and CEO of Macrostax. It was really fun kind of talking to Lindsey about how she discovered the need for this app that she kind of created with her husband and what they did to put it all together and what their plans are for the future, which is very exciting. I am personally a Macrostax user. I've been using it for the last couple of weeks and seeing great results on it. Lots of energy, able to track my macros really well. And so with that, we don't want to hold it up any longer, and we'll just let Lindsey talk for herself. So we'll talk to you after this with a quick little news update. Hey, Lindsey, how are you?
Doing well. How are you guys?
We are
Good.
great. So where are you located?
Boulder, Colorado.
Ah, beautiful.
So
Yeah.
did you start in Florida?
Sort of.
Okay.
So I had a couple of gyms in Florida, and then I started an online nutrition consulting company, Lean Machine Nutrition, which was in Florida. And then basically wanted to, me and my husband also builds apps, and he wanted to build something in a place that flourishes for fitness and tech. And so that's kind of what brought us to Boulder. And then it didn't actually technically launch until we were out here.
Okay. So I read your story on your website about how it started. So it was you, maybe if it was your husband at the time or not, but you guys were traveling and you said, I'll drive if you make this app on this drive from Florida to Chicago. So will you kind of give our listeners a story of how Macrostax was started and brought up?
Yeah, for sure. So we sold our gyms, and we were moving temporarily to Chicago because he was actually in this accelerator program where he was building his app. So he wasn't affiliated with Macrostax at all, but he had heard me telling, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be huge one day. I'm so excited about it. And I had never done anything outside of fitness. So he was just kind of like the driver saying you can build software and do whatever you want. And I was like, really? So anyways, we moved temporarily to Chicago, and on the drive up, I was like, I will do anything if you build a prototype or something. And he was like, oh, he had a lot going on. And anyways, I talked him into it, and it was basically if I drove the whole way from Florida to Chicago and he could listen to whatever music he wanted, so I had no choices. He would build me this prototype. So in about 12 hours, which anybody who knows software, that's not a lot of time to build anything. So it was just basically enough for me to take it to an agency and kind of build it further. But it was a fun story because it was just, I was begging him. I'm like, please.
Yeah, I think we're all married here, and I know we've all probably made some of our own little negotiations to get some of those things for us.
Yeah, for sure. But
So-
no, I'm forever grateful for that. And he hasn't been apart since, but I mean, that was a key time. So
What's been awesome is that your relationship withstood that trip, and you're not getting to listen to the music you liked, and he built the app. So that's awesome.
I know, totally.
And so what's your fitness background?
I got my bachelor's in exercise and sports science. So I've always been really into exercise physiology and kinesiology. And prior to that, I played every sport. So soccer, basketball, track, and cross country, pretty much full time. And then I went to the University of Florida, and at the time I didn't want to play sports. I just wanted to coach. So they let me be an assistant, strength and conditioning coach. And then eventually near my senior year, they hired me as the strength and conditioning coach for the cheerleaders, which was cool. It was kind of at the time, the lower, that's where when you're just starting out. But what was really cool is the cheerleaders were, they're doing gymnastics, and the guys are holding girls up. I mean, it was really, really impressive. So they definitely needed like safe training and things like that. So then I worked out with them. And I also was like the assistant for football there, which was pretty cool because that was in the Tim Tebow years.
And was that when Coach Urban Meyer was the coach?
Yeah.
Okay, I just need to throw that out here for Scott. So Charlie and I are big Ohio State fans. So.
I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and so I'm a huge like OH.
Oh, IO. All right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
I know. So we went, so my senior year, we went to the national championship and it was Florida versus Ohio State, if you guys remember.
I was at that game.
Yeah, me too. Okay. So I was the strength coach at the time. So it was my alma mater. And before that, you could basically be a fan of either one because they never played, right? And so then it was like, what are you going to do? And I was coaching, so like I had to wear my like UF uniform, but I had a Buckeye necklace underneath it.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's a good memory. But I'm a huge Buckeye, and then Urban Meyer, and then he went to Ohio State, and so I'm like, this is win-win for me. Like I can't lose here.
Yeah.
Well, we're actually all based in Columbus right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's where we're from. Well, I'm not from here, but I live here now.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually a Penn State fan and get ripped on by the other two all the time.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
So, so you started this app, and what was the purpose behind it? What gave you the inspiration to want to track macros?
Yeah, so when I first started tracking macros, that's when I owned a CrossFit gym in Orlando, and I was a competitive, CrossFit athlete, went to regionals 3 times, and I was working out like a maniac, like it was my job. And I wasn't eating a lot because, I wanted to look a certain way. And so I'm like, just tried like the paleo thing for 5 years and just making sure I was eating clean, but I was always like afraid to eat food. A lot of people listening right now, like have definitely struggled with, their body image or food or fearing carbs or, so it's just it's a very emotional thing. And so one of my favorite athletes, she started counting macros and kind of told me about it, and I got into it, and it long story short, it changed my life. And I was eating like over 2,000 calories a day. I was eating over 200 carbs. I got like ripped, and I was like PRing everything. And I was I was pretty, small, like 135-ish pounds, and like back squatting almost 300 pounds. And it was just like, it was really cool because I'm like, this is revolutionary. And so we were in the transition of wanting to sell the gym. And so I started this Lean Machine Nutrition, which was an online, like essentially consulting company for macros. And it was just because I wanted to like spread the word. And I'm like a big entrepreneur. I love building businesses. It's like one of my passions. And so I got that launched pretty quickly. And the problem with the one-on-one coaching, which I think that it does serve a certain audience, it's just for most people really expensive. And if you're already paying for like a gym membership, you're like, oh my gosh, I have to pay an extra $150 or $200 on top of that. And then you're like talking to a coach via email once a week, so like the client really doesn't get that much either. So there was like this miss. They're paying a lot and they don't feel like they're getting a ton. But then I was working like 1 million hours a week and probably getting paid like pennies on the hour once you like divided it out. So I'm like, there has to be a better way to reach more people and to make it more affordable. So that's when like the software idea came. Like if I can take my day-to-day activities and all my like operations and put it into something that's automatic, then, we still have a personal touch. So on Macrostax, there's nutrition coaches, and, I was doing that for a while. Now we have a team of people who answer, support questions inside the app, which is awesome. So there's still that personal touch, but everything else is automated, which gives us the ability to just charge way less. It's anywhere from $10 to $20 a month. So it's just way cheaper. And you get to like interact with a coach every day on like chat if you want to. And we were able to like give you more because like we can just keep building on that platform. And when you're a single solo person, you can kind of only do so much. And our biggest question was, how do I hit my macros? You give people macros and they're like, well, how do I hit these? And I'm like, there has to be like a way to automate this. And so kind of like our proprietary part of the app is what we call like our recipes feature. And so all of our recipes were designed by our registered dietitian, and our algorithm will auto calculate to your specific macros. And so you can click a button that says fill macros and it'll give you all these ideas, and then it'll auto calculate. So all of us would get like a different portion, and the goal is, to hit your macros at the end of the day. So that's something that Macrostax does that really nobody else in the market is doing. And so that's where we're really like playing up, because they're like, finally, because it's so daunting. Like, who wants to weigh and measure their food, and
It's
so
one of
that's
my
kind of what
favorite
we're leaning.
features of the app.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I love that. And so, that's something we're going to be playing into a lot more, just because like people need help, and we want to make it easy. I don't want nutrition to be challenging. I don't want it to be daunting, because when you hear people saying they weigh and measure their food, that does sound a little cuckoo to some people. And so we're trying to say like, no, it doesn't need to be. And so we're going to actually measure for you, so all you have to do is, or we're going to portion for you. So all you have to do is essentially like make it. So it's just a lot less work for the client. So yeah, it's just a way to share it with more people.
So you've mentioned the app now. It's a pretty cool thing. And I've tried a couple others. This one actually has a lot more features than any of the other ones I've tried. So when you first go in, you kind of set up a profile, and you get to determine what your plan is, whether it be fat loss, maintenance, or muscle building, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly.
So you set all that up, your activity levels, and then it determines how many macros you should eat in a day, or how many
Correct.
calories plus macros. And then you can check in daily in measurements and weigh, which is really cool. And not just the scale, but to actually take measurements of 3 different areas of the body, so that you can track through that. So then day to day, how do you use the app to maximize the biggest benefit out of it?
Personally?
Yeah.
Or
Do you build your meals ahead of time, and then, or I think that's, go ahead.
Sure. So there's kind of like 2 different paths. Some people who like wing their macros, and then a lot of like meal preppers and planners. And I think both people can be successful, but I would say that it's easier if you plan ahead. So a lot of times when people sign up, they're like, okay, well, where do I start? And so we're like, hey, why don't you just start with tomorrow, or next week, whenever you're ready to start, and build out an entire day, and make sure that we call them green thumbs. And that's when you hit like your daily macros. And so there's like this celebration. We're like, yay, good job. And so if you do that for one day, it with the fill macros button, it takes a lot less time, but sometimes people want different things. And so, they'll kind of swap here and there. But once you've like successfully done it once, then, you can copy it to the next day and meal prep and eat the same things. And generally, I tell people, go to the store like once or twice a week, meal prep ahead, do 3 to 4 days in advance. And I mean, then you just kind of grab and go, and it's just a lot easier if you do it that way. But I'm definitely a wing it type person. So I do meal prep sometimes, and then other times I just I've also been doing it a very long time. So it's easier for me to just kind of, know what to grab out of the refrigerator. Yeah.
Well, and I think that with what you were saying about the recipes that are in there now and how it calculates for you, I think that makes it a lot easier for people to, in the beginning, to have an understanding of, okay, if I do this, it'll get me to this number for my lunch, and this one, and those thumbs up, I think, are really a great idea, and something different than just, hey, I'm at 0 now.
Mm-hmm.
It's different than seeing, hey, there's 3 green thumbs up. So I think that's a great piece that you guys added to that.
Yeah, I love that part. It's like we're trying to celebrate, like telling people like, this is a big deal. Like, first of all, you ate all this food, because most people are under eating, and they join and they're like, whoa, this is more than, I've ever eaten before. Are you sure? And they're really intimidated, and we're like, trust it. And then we have this great, community online on Facebook, and everybody in there is like, trust the system, it works, just give it a couple weeks. And so, that's pretty cool. But yeah, we're just trying to give people as many tools as possible to be successful. And so in addition to recipes, because that word can kind of intimidate people as well, there's basically there's no bake recipes, which is, you can just grab, apples and tuna, and grapes or something like that. That was just random. But, there's ways that there's also individual foods. So if you're just trying to fill 38 carbs, then maybe we'll give you like 1.5 bananas or something like that. So we try and like give you options if you want to be extravagant, or if you're just like, no, I'm a grab and go type person, then you can do that too.
Now, are you guys constantly adding things to the algorithm or to the system where it's easier for people to, put in bananas or random like Chipotle or BB-bop or, whatever it is? Obviously regional things are kind of weird, but.
Yeah, so our dietitian is, every week creating more recipes. And then as far as the database goes, there's 800,000 foods, and that includes chain restaurants and things like that, or even things that you can find at the gas station. And so that's pretty much covered. And if there's anything that's not, then, and somebody like reports it to us and says like, hey, we would love to add this, then we can just add it for them. And so that way it's like constantly in our database. And so it's a pretty robust, it's pretty robust. But,
so what are a couple of your favorite recipes from the app?
There's this chicken enchilada casserole. That's a family favorite. My husband loves that one too. And it's so easy. It's like stupid easy. It's like 4 ingredients and you just kind of throw them together and put it in the oven, and it like will last you like, the whole week. That one's also delicious. That's delicious. And then there's a easy chicken Parmesan bake, but it's like gluten-free. So it's not like real, chicken parm. So you can feel good about it. Those are 2 of my favorites. And there's like some fun ones. Like there's these high energy protein cookies. It's like oats and chocolate chips and bananas. And I would never know how. I've been cooking my whole life, but I'm not good at it. And so I love recipes because it's like, foolproof. You just follow it. So.
Well, one of the other cool features you have is if you have a restricted diet of some sort, vegan, pescatarian, you can actually check that box too, and it'll conform to that as well. Yeah,
we have gluten-free, dairy-free, vegan, vegetarian, and pescatarian, and we have requests from customers, to add more. So we're going to start building out a way so you can actually say like, no soy or something like that. Well, you can delete that out of your plan. We're going to make filtering like a lot more robust this year. So that's exciting amongst a lot of other things, because one thing I've learned is that like software is very hard. It takes forever and it's extremely expensive. So this has been a challenge that I don't think I knew what I was getting myself into, but it's been really rewarding because of that.
So we are obviously the Clydesdale CrossFitter and friends. So I've noticed that you guys have started picking up a lot of some of the athletes, Josh Bridges, Travis Mayer has been around for a while, who's one of Scott and I's favorites, Daniel Brandon. How is it to work with those guys and them using the app?
Awesome. Yeah, we've had such a positive experience with every influencer or ambassador that we've worked with. And so I'm a CrossFitter at heart. I love it. I've been doing it since 2007. So I'm just, I just love the community, and yeah, diehard still to this day. I'm building a CrossFit gym in my barn right now. So anyways, I just like, that's kind of where Macrostax originated, because that's what I was, familiar with. And so getting somebody like Josh Bridges was a dream, and working with Travis, he's such a cool guy. And, all the ladies that we have, it's, they're awesome. And they're all of those people are so strong and influential that, we're really lucky to have people like that speaking about our product, because people, they trust what other people say and people that they look up to. So it's important to kind of build those relationships. And, we want to make sure that it's something that they believe in too. So it's hard to find influencers that, can really speak to the product, because they have to use it. They have to feel good about it. So, not everybody counts macros. So yeah, we feel really, really lucky to have our squad.
And so a couple other features that you have that I really like are the scanner, to be able to scan your foods in instead of typing out like an entire meal. One of the frustrations I've had with other apps is you have an 8 ingredient meal and you got to type each one of those in. When you have the scanner, it goes so much faster.
It's so much faster. That's definitely our biggest feature, and we haven't always had it. So Any of those early adopters listening, I'm sorry, but we have it now. And so it's just like, it's a game changer. Not only that, but we're working on a partnership right now that we're super stoked about. Probably won't be until later in the year that we actually launch it, but it's basically like photo recognition. And so while this is, scanning UPC, and that's really easy, you could actually just like scan your apple and it'll say apple, and then it'll estimate the size for you. And so it's like next level. So we're really excited about that.
That's amazing.
Won't say who it is yet, but yeah, it's next level. So we're actively working on that, and their software is, still being improved, and but we kind of get to pilot it out, and it's going to be like, it's going to be a game changer.
The other thing I really like is the chat feature built right into the app, and being able to reach out to someone and ask questions on the spot instead of trying to find an email address and all that kind of stuff. So that's a really, really easy way to get in touch with you guys.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. It was important to me when first building this. I was nervous about that feature because it does take human beings, and it doesn't scale as easily as let's call it software. So I was nervous about it, but it was important to me to have a human element because, again, like I said earlier, nutrition is so special to each person. It can be really emotional. It can be triggering. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it. And so not feeling like you have any support can make people quit, and so if they can reach out to somebody, even if it is chat, but it's like text message. I mean, that's all we do all day. Who picks up the phone anymore, right? And so it's 7 days a week. We're always on. It's basically like mountain time, 4 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week. So it's a lot. And we're trying to say, like, we're here for you. We know this is hard. We know that you have a special journey, and, whether you're a mom of 3 kids and, or you're somebody who's been overweight for a really, really long time, and like, this is just challenging, or you're just, somebody who's trying to improve performance or gain a little bit, everybody kind of has their own unique story. And so having a real person, and they're certified nutrition coaches. So it's not just like we like hire it out, to India or something like that. But that's important to us to kind of be able to connect with the clients. And so having over 75,000, well, we're probably like way over that now, but that was the last time I checked. I mean, that's a lot of people to support. So our coaches are crushing it, but they work really hard. So.
And I was going to ask you that, like the credentials that they hold to do that job. Do you train them, or do you just want them to have a certain type of credential?
Yeah. So we have a dietitian, and so she's kind of, the leader of the pack. And then everybody else that's coaching right now has, precision nutrition. So there's these level 1s out there, level 2s. It reminds me of like a CrossFit kind of certification. So you don't go to school for it, and, people have different opinions on what that means. But it's, it has a very similar philosophy to kind of what we believe in. And so it gives a little bit of structure, and
And so with that being said, I know you have a couple future plans, but what are the future goals for the company overall?
So, I'm so excited. I love Macrostax and the future of it, and I wish it could come like tomorrow. But first and foremost, customers want a native app. So we're a web-based app, and so they want us to be in the App Store, which we will be. We're working on building that as we speak. So that's exciting. That's kind of something that's been like a big request. Even though the web app works basically the same, people just like the convenience of going to the App Store. And the goal is to be like a true one-stop shop. So when you sign up, you're entering in all your private information or personal information, then you get your plan. And, we have workout days and rest days and refeed days, and it changes depending on your activity level. And there's a lot of customizations in that. And we have the recipes, or foods, if you will, that will auto calculate. So you actually can get help hitting your macros. And then what we're working on now is like a more robust shopping list. So there's a way to export shopping lists right now. But that way we can integrate with Instacart, which is going to be like a game changer, because then you can just click a button, send it to Instacart, delivers at your door. Who does not want that? Like, oh my gosh, how much easier. Then, like kind of like a marketplace for what I'm going to call meal preppers. Right now they're called chefs, but in my opinion, there's like this like stigma with like the word chef, like, oh, you're fancy if you have a chef or you're rich or something, right? And so like the idea is like TaskRabbit, like it doesn't have to be like a chef who went to school. It's just somebody who will, read the recipe, cook it, meal prep it, and like put it in your refrigerator. So kind of like the full one-stop shop if somebody wants it, because some people can drop off and say, well, I don't cook, and so while we have no cook meals, it's kind of unrealistic to say that you're going to be successful for 5 years if you don't ever cook anything, and that's hard for people to hear, but that is true. And so we're trying to say, well, if you don't cook, guess what, we're going to find somebody for you, like, so there's no excuse for people like not to be able to eat right for their body. So that's kind of what I'm excited about, and then having more of like a meal prep mode. So you can still prep in advance, but there's going to be like 2 different kind of views. So for people who wing it like me, probably won't use it a whole lot, but for people who are really big into meal prepping, they can kind of use that meal prepper view.
And so my last question for you is, if you could give a person one tip about nutrition, what would it be?
Consistency. Yeah, I think that's the same with fitness, but it just goes a long way that I think where a lot of people struggle is, call it the 5 days a week, they feel really good, and then they just go off on the weekends like really crazy, and then they're constantly in this cycle, or they aren't eating anything, which I can speak to and relate to, because they are scared, and then they binge eat because they get really hungry, and so it's a really, really sad, sick cycle that, millions and millions of people struggle with. And so if we can just find a way to help people be a little bit more consistent daily, like making consistent choices, and even just like overall calories each day, like if you're not fluctuating a whole lot, your body's going to respond a lot better to that. So just trying to like teach people that it's okay to eat, but yeah, consistency would probably be number one.
Yeah, I think the first time I started, I was just taken aback. I'm not a small man. I am the Clydesdale CrossFitter. That is my name. And so when I first started Macrostax, I could not believe how much food I was supposed to eat in a day. And it's really hard to like turn that off in the mind, because you think like, eat less, I'll lose more weight.
Yeah.
But my goodness, it's so much food.
Yeah.
It's the right kind of food.
Yeah. How do you feel like now or after using it and stuff? And like, do you feel more confident?
Every time I jump in, I feel so much better because I have so much more energy, and I can work out better, and I feel a lot better. It's just really hard. It's been ingrained for so long, like calorie deficit. But yeah, so I think it's a great system. I feel great when I do it. It's just getting that to turn off for a while.
Mm-hmm. That's so hard. And I mean, you're not alone. It's rewiring, your brain, and it does take trust in the beginning too, which is hard to tell like a client, hey, trust something or somebody that you don't know. Right. Which is why we're really working on our branding and getting influencers and other people that they trust. So we can say like, no, like this person that you love or follow, does it too. And, they wouldn't steer you the wrong way. But yeah, when I first started, I was like at the point of break though, where I was like, I have tried everything under the sun and nothing worked, And so at that point, I didn't feel like I had a choice but to just trust it. And I mean, I was eating so much food, like I felt sick even. Like I was like, this is ridiculous. But I was like, I don't know what else to do, so I'm just gonna go for it, and literally haven't stopped since, and that was years and years and years ago. So
when I started CrossFit, I weighed over 500 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And then I lost 250, felt great, and then got injured.
Awesome.
And then now I'm kind of on the comeback to get back to where I was. So I'm trying to use Macrostax to get me there. So hopefully get back to
that's
healthy
awesome. Yeah, just consistency, stick to it, small steps.
Well, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day to be with us and to talk about your product, because we all use it, we all love it. And I can't wait for the future. It sounds like there's some really cool stuff coming to even make it better.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was so fun, and I'm just so glad that you use it and love it, and it was kind of fun to talk about the story, so I appreciate it.
Oh yeah, it was great. Thank you. And I love the Ohio State connection.
I know. Go Buckeyes.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, Lindsey. And we'll see you later and have a great week.
Okay. Talk to you guys later. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was a really nice interview with Lindsey, talking about how she started her company, Macrostax. And like I said at the open, this is something that I've used for the last few weeks, and I'm really finding some success with it. Really love the recipes. It's really easy to use, and it makes it really easy to track when you use the recipe. So I'm glad she came on and kind of told us the origin story of Macrostax. So a little bit of news for the week. We promised you on the last episode that we would talk about how our Murph went. 3 of us have done it. 1 is doing it this weekend. So we're all going to rally around Charlie and cheer him on for that, as he's been doing his prison workout for the last 8 months, or 8,
Right.
feels like 8 months, 8 weeks.
Right. We're going sub 40, buddy.
Nice.
What's your
With the
plan,
vest.
Charlie? What's your plan? Vest?
Go out hot and then
Stay hot.
Stay hot. Pass out, wake back up, and then keep going.
I've seen that plan in action before. The stay hot is not probably sustainable. Looking at your track record.
Wait a minute. I guarantee he will stay hot.
But the engine will not.
The engine will cool down very quickly.
Have we looked at what the weather is going to be on Saturday? Because that
It's
Yeah.
what's the
going to
game?
be down in the 70s. So he's getting a better deal than we did.
Hey, don't hate me because you ain't me.
I don't hate you. I for the first time ever really, really struggled with Murph this year. Like, for a lot of different reasons. I had a lot of mental conversations with myself that didn't go very well. But I had those conversations, and I would do a round and then walk away and try to cool down, and then I'd do another round. I think the biggest challenge for me was that we had been kind of training, up until this time in 60-degree weather or cooler. And then here we are on the day of Murph, and it was 86 or 88 degrees. And I had that weight vest on, and I did 4 rounds, and I ripped it off because I was starting to get chills, overheating chills. And I was like, not worth it. So took it off. Yeah.
Yeah, the weather wasn't too much of a factor here in Delaware. It was hot and it was a little bit muggy. But for me, it was just, we had 2 girlfriends came here to the garage to do it. And all 3 of us just kind of dreaded it as it was happening. I only made it, I did an 800-meter run at the beginning, an 800-meter run at the backside. I did all the reps in between. And then my one girlfriend who ended maybe 10 minutes after I ended, I did another 800 meters with her. Not timed, not part of my time, but yeah, it was hard. And I'm feeling so rough today. This is 2 days later. I mean, my triceps just hurt. And the workouts that I've been doing are so scaled and will continue to be so scaled for the next couple of days, probably. I'm wrecked.
Yeah, so I basically said last time that I was not going to be irresponsible and try to do the whole thing again like I did last year and just wreck myself for a while, just because I have not been doing any lower body at all. So I did half Murph using the assault bike. I did 50 calories for a half mile. And that went really fast. I think sub 4 on the opening. And then what's great is I've been doing a lot of upper body. So my push-ups, and I actually did ring rows because I did those. And the ring rows and the push-ups went really well, but the air squats got me pretty quick. Even though I do them well, I haven't been doing them. So at a quick rate. If I've been doing them, it's been very slow and methodical. So that's where I'm hurting today. My quads, hamstrings, and glutes are just wrecked. But in the 8th, so I did 10 rounds of Cindy. In the finishing the eighth round, I felt really bad, and I had those internal conversations. And for me, they went well. I really kind of kicked myself in the butt and said, listen, you can do 2 rounds of Cindy. It's nothing. Just finish it and move on. So I took a drink and then hammered through those last 2 rounds, got back on the bike, and I was sub 5 for my last 50 calories, which
Nice.
was pretty much better than I did last year for my 100 calories front and back on that.
Yeah.
But so really happy with the way it went.
That's good. How'd you break it up, Aim?
So this year I actually did do something different. I did 20 rounds, but I did 5 pull-ups, 5 push-ups, 15 air squats, and then the 5 push-ups to round it out. And that seemed to go really well. I didn't really have to break up much between there. You know, there comes times when I would do it the straight Cindy way, where I would do like 5 push-ups, shake it out, do 2 more, shake it out, you know. So this kept that part moving a little bit more. It was really just my rest between, you know, a round, just because I was just so overheated. And then here's the dumb thing that I did, is that I wasn't so sore yesterday morning when I got up to coach, and I was okay. And so I decided, I'm going to do this one workout. It was CompTrain's workout, and it was like a bunch of ab mats, dumbbell deadlifts, and a bunch of handstand walking. I was like, I feel okay. Not today. Not today. That was bad. I mean, I'm like, I can't even straighten out my arms.
So one of our former guests made a comment on a Morning Chalk-Up article about being ready for Murph. Dex Hopkins basically said that it would be irresponsible for people to do Murph if they've just been training at home.
With limited equipment.
With limited equipment, and to, as their first workout back, jump into Murph. And after doing it, I can see why he said that. But he got a lot of backlash online for that.
I totally understood where he was coming from, and I don't disagree. I think that is best practices. Yes. I also think, though, that there are people who have been training maybe pretty regularly, or maybe doing even some Murph prep in order to do it. So I think, as a broad statement, I totally get where he's saying. I think he received a lot of flack for it, which a lot of it, I mean, we're a lot of trolls on there, just, you know, making comments here and there.
And a lot of people say, like, think it's unpatriotic, you know, which is not at all where he was coming from. I'm sure it was just, you know, in the abundance of caution is probably the right thing to say as a coach. But, you know, like, it depends. It depends on what your training was like. And I think for a lot of people, it's been nothing. And I think for a lot of people, they either didn't do it or they did it grossly modified.
Yeah. And so I was thinking about that too. Like, I'm super sore. My training has not really changed this whole time. Like, I've been very regular as far as following the programming that we normally do. The only thing I did differently this year was, last year I would spend a little bit more time doing specific Murph prep. And instead of, like, if I was doing a workout, I would just throw on my weight vest and add that to the run this time. Well, I think that's where my soreness really came from not doing more specific. And then the weather being a game changer too, but that's just my experience.
And for me, it's just intensity. I think, like, I've been working out this whole time, but at not nearly the intensity level that I would, I think, in the gym. And that's just, you know, it's different when it's in your garage and it's just like one other person. I will tell you though, my friends both did the mile, and it pushed me so hard during those first few rounds. I did 33 rounds of 369. And those first, I think, like 7 or 8 rounds I tried to do before they got back from the run. Like, I could see them coming in the window and I was like, hurry up, let's go. Like, I wanted to get as many rounds as I could under my belt before they got back. So that was a helpful push.
So we are in Charlie's corner this weekend. We will be rooting him on, and hope he gets sub 40.
Whew.
Yes, sir.
So that be an all-time PR?
Yes.
With a vest?
With a vest.
Dang, Charlie.
Current vest is 41.
Okay.
So it's the mile. That's where the issue comes in.
Yeah, because you can bust out that other stuff, you know, quick.
Especially that last mile.
That last mile is...
That'll be real fast.
Well, with that, let's move on. We want to talk about the Titan Games briefly, as two of our former guests are going to be on the Titan Games. They were not on this Monday night, but Matt Chan was. And talk about an exciting finish as he took on the pro athlete in the Mount Olympus final of the Titan Games and lost by less than a second.
Mm.
All because he couldn't get the Titan thing in the hole.
That's what she said.
Leave it. Leave that. That was too good. I'm
It's right
curious.
there.
I'm curious what Charlie thinks about what that super professional athlete. Did you watch it, Charlie?
No.
Okay, because you're a Browns fan, and so when he was talking about what of a great athlete he was,
Joe Thomas was a great athlete.
Joe Thomas was.
yeah, but he's still from the Browns, so I just was curious.
He was like the one good player they had, but he
Yeah.
doesn't ever touch the ball, so that didn't help them.
He looks nothing like he used to.
Interesting.
He lost probably 150 pounds.
Whoa.
Yeah, he said on the broadcast he's lost. It was nowhere near 150. It was like 55 or 60.
Mm.
So, okay. Here's what I was super annoyed about with the whole. I loved the Titan. Like it was super fun to watch and super exciting to cheer for Matt. But I was annoyed, and I'm curious to see. And I know we texted about this. I'm curious to see what will happen with these other athletes. But they made zero mention of CrossFit. Zero.
Well, and what I liked is you actually got to talk to Matt Chan on his live Instagram.
I did. He went live and said, "Throw
and
me
you
some
asked
questions."
him that question.
Yeah, I said, "Why no talk about CrossFit?" And he said, "I do talk about CrossFit. I talk about it all the time." He said it was all what they chose to put in there, and with editing.
Ah, the old editing
Oh,
story.
editing.
So we have several other CrossFitters coming up. Danny Spiegel has been in the promos for next week, so I'm assuming she's one of the contestants next week. So we'll see if CrossFit's mentioned or if the Titan Games have something against CrossFit.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
All right. So with that, we want to keep it short. Again, this is one of our midweek releases, but we're really excited about our release on Monday as well. I know you enjoyed this week with Macrostax, but Monday's maybe the most impressive athlete we have ever interviewed on this show. And we've interviewed some pretty impressive athletes. Yeah, not you, Charlie. So we are interviewing Emma Carey, 15 years old during last year's Open, 16-year-old just a couple weeks ago. You have got to tune in to hear her story. It is unbelievable. And what a good kid. Really looking forward to see what she does in the future. And I can't wait for you guys to see that interview. So with that, we'll see you next week on the Clydesdale CrossFitter and Friends.
Bye.